DW Africa Link.
Most students are not taking responsibility for their own learning. That's the harsh reality. They come to the classrooms, and because there are governmental policies, you're not supposed to use cane, you're not supposed to, there are so many things that restrains the teacher from disciplining the student. So I can tell you that most teachers, if not all, about 80 to 90% of teachers these days go to the classroom, just deliver what they should deliver, and then they leave.
Do you love mathematics? Many people I speak to say that math scares them, and I wonder why. In Ghana, more than half of students failed core mathematics in the 2025 West African Senior School Certificate Examination, WASE for short. That was the weakest maths performance in about 7 years. It raises serious questions about how well the school system is preparing young people for basic problem solving. So how can we stop dividing ourselves from maths and rather multiply our love for the numbers? That's what's coming up. I am Eddy Micah Jr., and you are welcome to Africa Link, the podcast connecting you to the stories that matter.
Africa Link, every weekday here on DW.
Let's put things into perspective. The number of Ghanaian WASE students who completely failed core maths shot up from about 6% in 2024 to almost 27% in 2025. That's nearly 1 in 4 people failing. Now, this decline not only affects immediate academic prospects, but also limits students' chances of entering tertiary institutions, which impacts their future employment opportunities. So, what went wrong? Some are linking the decline in pass rates to the government's crackdown on exam malpractice, such as cheating. But is that it?
I like maths because when the teacher teaches you, you understand. It is easy to solve when you practice it. But if the teacher teaches you and you don't practice it, it becomes hard for you.
Most students are not taking responsibility for their own learning. That's the harsh reality. They come to the classrooms, and because there are governmental policies, you're not supposed to use cane, you're not supposed to, there are so many things that restrains the teacher from disciplining the student. So I can tell you that most teachers, if not all, about 80 to 90% of teachers these days go to the classroom, just deliver what they should deliver, and then they leave.
Let's get more from Divine Kpe, an education, research, and policy analyst. Our correspondent in Accra, Ghana, Adwoa Tenkorama Domena, is also here with us. Welcome, both of you, to the Africa Link podcast. Adwoa, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love maths?
3.
3.
Yes, 3. 3 because really, I didn't get a good foundation for math. I have never liked maths, especially because in junior high school, when I was starting, there was this teacher I'll never forget, Swagger. He would just lash everybody in the class if you are not able to say your answer. So he put so much pressure on us. And for me, I felt like that foundation, because in the class, it's not everybody who knows maths. So you really have to calm down so that some of us who are trying to like the subject, can get into where, don't start with mental. You have to start teaching us slowly, and, give us tests so that once we learn through a period, you give us tests. If we are not able to do it, then maybe you lash us more. But this one, you're starting with the lashing. How will I like the subject? So I've never liked maths, yes.
I see. It's interesting what you say. So in a sense, do you think you did not like maths because of the pressure that came with the subject, or is it just a personal not interested?
I think to a large extent, it has to do with the pressure, because at the time in my class, there were some 7 brilliant students in the class. When the teacher comes, he will focus on the people who are very brilliant. When he's teaching and they say they understand, it means the entire class understands. So it was a problem for me, because now if you raise your hands to say, I don't understand, it would appear as if, why do you have different heads? Why is it that somebody else understands and you don't understand? So it put that fear in me, even saying that I don't understand math, it was a problem. And so I had to, just follow the class. When I finish, go and read what I can, try and solve what I can. If I can't, I just leave it, because at the end of the day, he'll come and lash us anyways. So that formed the basis for me. And yes, I never liked maths. Even in university, I had the opportunity of doing statistics, and I think it really affected me as well over there because the foundation was very weak.
Right. Thanks for sharing that personal experience with us. Divine, I have a feeling for you it's a different story, and you must love maths, don't you?
I do. I really do. I'll put it on 8 or 9. Yeah, but to be specific, I'll put it on 9. Yeah.
Hey, that's a huge gap between address 3 and your 9.
I think I do because for me, math is interesting, especially when you understand the concept. It's very interesting. It is very methodical. From this step, you are moving to this step. From this step, you are moving to this step. And if you are getting your answer wrong, right from the onset, that if you understand the concept, you are getting your answer wrong, and you need to figure your way around it and proceed. So I love it just simply because of that. But having also trained as a teacher at one point of my career, or even starting my career as a teacher, and having been taught what we call pedagogical mathematics, that is how to teach mathematics. I would say that our teachers, those that didn't help because of the way they taught us. Simply say they taught us wrong, because in mathematics, there are simple ways to teach the concept, abstract concepts, for students to really appreciate it very. So yeah, maybe I was privileged to be among the very few that could easily grasp the concept, but majority of colleagues back in basic school, they actually did not like it. And mainly because of what Adwoa also said, the approach to teaching it. And largely, if we continue with this discussion, as I'll be pointing out, is the main challenge facing students' inability to easily understand and pass mathematics.
I was probably a 6, if I'm to be honest. There were many challenges also that prevented me from maybe loving it even more. And we're going to be talking about the right ways to do it. But as we are still on this discussion, I want you to weigh in on what's been happening in Ghana now. We're talking about the worst WASSCE performance in 7 years when it comes to mathematics. What could have gone wrong, do you think, Divine?
Right. Thank you. Yes, we are still diagnosing the challenge, because this is very, very alarming to have more than half of students failing. It tells that this may not just be issue with the students, but also could have gone to systemic level. And the implication, of course, is that these half students will not be able to access tertiary education because they are required to pass their mathematics as a core subject. So we are still doing the diagnosis. Currently, one of the variables that may be a contributing factor is the quality of students that may be entering the secondary schools. If you look at our student performance in foundational literacy, it's mostly looking at KG, kindergarten level 2, primary 3. Our national assessment for students at that level tells that about 60% of them are not attaining the basic foundation when it comes to numeracy. So if you have about 60% of children unable to acquire the basic skill in numeracy, and also almost the same for literacy, then it tells you that it's going to affect them along the line when they eventually enter secondary school. So that will also be a contributing factor.
Thank you, Divine, for telling us all of that. But I want to know from you, Adwoa, what the reaction to this maths failure has been.
Thank you, Eddie. So for the reactions, I think it's been disappointing on all levels, whether it is from parents or even teachers. A lot of people, have expressed general disappointment. But let me stick to the parents and then the teachers. And then maybe we can talk about the general public reaction, because it's quite on the opposite side. So for parents, I think this is much expected, because if you're failing your exam. It just means that, especially if you want to continue your education to the tertiary level, it just means that you have to, go through another level of, research or remedial classes, which comes with extra financial burden. So for low-income families particularly, it's not such a good news. It's not good news for anybody, but for them especially, it presents, extra financial burden on them, something that they might not have prepared for. There's something that, one of the experts have, picked their thoughts on this particular matter has said. And for me, I feel it's very critical because they say that this is also going to increase the inequality gap or the education gap. So when you're talking about the education gap, for a lot of families, low-income families, if you reach senior high school, that's the highest it can do for you. If you want to continue to tertiary, that's your own business. You have to work, find your own money, and then, see yourself through university education. If something like this happens, it's very easy for families to say, look, we tried, but you clearly failed. And so this is the end of the road for you. So it's either you're going to find yourself, learning a trade, or you end up just as a senior high school graduate. So that is very concerning for a lot of families and a lot of, the experts that I've spoken to.
Right.
For teachers, the disappointment is in the fact that, and I feel this is also natural, because when you teach somebody and they write an exam and they fail, you start asking yourself questions. Did I not teach them the right thing? Did they not understand? And I did not see, how did I not anticipate, some of the questions? And when you listen to some of the students who wrote the exam, they say that what they learned in school was completely at variance. And this has been responded to by WAEC anyways. WAEC says that the exam, the standard was the same even compared to last year. But the students say the exam was incredibly difficult for them, the math exams, and that's why we saw the results that we saw. So that has been the reaction, the mixed reaction. The general public has a different reaction to this.
What's the reaction from the general public? You're trying to suggest that it's very different.
It's very different because, Eddie, Ghana is a very polarized country in terms of politics, and as much as people do not want this issue to be politicized, that has been the reaction. So there's a section of the public who are saying that, look, this result is a reflection of the students' abilities because exam malpractice was cracked down severely in this year's exam. And so whatever we are seeing is as a result of what should have been even in the past, or it's as a result of the effort by authorities to crack down on exam malpractice. And so applause to the government. There's also another section of the public who are saying that, look, there is a policy by the government called the no fee stress policy, which allows the government to pay the fees of first-year university students. And this section of the public are saying that the government wants to reduce the numbers so that it does not put a lot of strain on its budgetary allocation for this particular policy. And therefore, they had to crack down on however they would make the exam difficult, crack down on malpractices,
right,
which is a good thing. And that has resulted in the mass failure. So it's a very political discussion going on in the general public.
This should not be politics. It should really be about how to ensure that Ghanaians are getting better and better at maths and passing their exams. So, Divine, we've talked about some of the challenges and the situation on the ground and the politicization of all of this. What's the right way to teach maths to make it interesting, palatable, exciting for someone like Adwoa and myself?
The right way is, number one, for the teacher to master the content. In teaching, we look at two things: content knowledge and pedagogical knowledge. So the teacher's knowledge of the subject is number one. And then the next thing is the pedagogical knowledge. That is, how do you teach what you know? So if the teacher is able to master these two things, then the teacher will be able to help the learners. Unfortunately, when you enter our space, there are a good number of teachers that do not possess the content knowledge. And then there are some who possess the content knowledge, but do not possess the pedagogical that knowledge, how to now transmit that knowledge to the learners. So, and also because they themselves, they do not like the mathematics. The person throughout the secondary school or even basic level do not like mathematics, and the person becomes a teacher. You want that person to teach mathematics. The disposition towards the teaching will be very, very poor. If teachers are able to have this skill well enhanced, and then they can now relate the teaching and learning to everyday life, I think it will be very helpful to learners. Most of the times, teachers teach without the application in real world, telling the learners, this is how you can teach, that you can apply this in a real world. So the concept is taught in an abstract. Once concept is taught in an abstract, then the appreciation becomes very poor. And then also teaching using what we call real materials. Teaching mathematics 1+1 in our pedagogical class, you are taught how to teach that particular, but you go to classroom and then 1+1 is equal to 2, and the child does not know why it becomes 2. When it happens like that, the child's appreciation of the study becomes so poor, and it builds from the basic level all the way up to the secondary school level. It cuts across. It's not an issue of the basic and then the junior high school or the secondary school. It's basically because we are not helping our learners to apply what we are teaching them in real world.
Who then is responsible for this? Because you're really talking about a very serious matter where even the teachers that train to teach maths are either not good with the content itself or don't know exactly how to teach the content. So how are they then ready for the world of teaching maths?
Yes. If you go back to our training institutions, yes, training curriculum for teachers is actually designed in these two ways, the content knowledge and then the pedagogical knowledge. During our time, we would have used 1 year to do the content, to know the content, and another 1 year to actually to teach the content, and then the last year to go to the field and practice it for 1 year before we are deployed to classroom. These are done at the school level, the training level, notwithstanding, because some of these teachers also already entered the colleges with a mindset that I do not like mathematics. So whatever way you are teaching it, they have also closed their minds on it. So for me, one thing that we are critically pushing forward is that we have subject teaching at the basic education level. There are teachers that like maths and can teach the subject very well. Let's allow those teachers in the schools to handle it. But when you do it as a class base where everybody is to teach mathematics, whether the person likes it or not, the person has the skill or set or not, then the person is not able to give the best to the learners in his class. But when you are able to sample in a particular school, teachers that have the skill, in a school you surely get at least 1 or 2 teachers that are very good at teaching mathematics.
Right. Adwoa, it's interesting what Divine is saying, telling us ways of going around it, which is always what I love. But do you get any sense that the government is paying closer attention to this issue and is trying to really find ways of dealing with it?
Well, Eddy, a government will take action if they see it as a problem, not a blessing. But from what we have seen so far, the government believes that this is good. Not the sense that students have failed, but the fact that the efforts they have put in have yielded results. Now, let me explain. Since this incident happened, we've had a statement from the Ghana Education Service. In fact, WAEC itself has also come out, to essentially corroborate the position of the government. Now, the government is saying that before the exam, they put in place several measures. Particularly because they thought the integrity of the exams was at question. And so they needed to, tackle all loopholes, fix a problem with examination malpractice, which they believe had bedeviled the exam over a period. And so the results even that we were seeing over these 7 years that we are comparing to were not the accurate results. So the Ghana Education Service released a statement essentially trying to set the record straight. In fact, that's how they captioned their statement. And they say that this result is a credible representation of students' abilities. And so it's not the case that the government has identified a problem. The problem they identified, according to that statement, is that there is an integrity issues with these exams, and we have to fix that.
Which I can understand that argument, but that only means that the government now has to have a plan to tackle the problem, which is the fact that if it wasn't for cheating, people will not do well in maths generally. So what's the approach that they're trying to deal with that?
So that statement goes ahead to say that in the coming days, there's going to be a lot of consultation, stakeholder consultation, which consultation we believe that is going to, essentially understand what the problem is, part of which has been identified as the exam malpractice, but also really get a sense of where the challenges are so that they can begin to fix it. It's still early days yet. And so we are hoping that when these stakeholder consultations are had, it will give the government a clear sense of what exactly they need to do, how they need to do it, and within what time frame they need to do it.
Maybe they are listening to Divine and taking a lot of pointers from Divine, and hopefully that would help make Ghanaian students much better in maths so they don't fail. As we wrap this up, Divine, look, I come to you as the expert of maths, right? That's you. Among us three, I come to you as the one who is much better in maths. How can I, as an individual who doesn't really love maths, get to love maths and be better at it?
All right, thank you. So loving maths, you can help yourself. I think, first of all, it starts with making the mindset that I want to give maths all of my best. Too often, quick to shut themselves off. I don't like maths because the teacher is this, the teacher is that. The teacher could be A or B and could affect how you like maths, but you don't need to quickly shut the door and say, no, let me just back myself somewhere. Now we have options available. If the teaching approach in a classroom is not helping you, there are tutorials online, in fact, YouTube. You can see it. By the time you watch 3 different persons teaching that particular concept on YouTube, you'd have developed a very good concept on how to understand that mathematical challenge. So options are very vast available, and I encourage persons that are struggling with mathematics not to just shut themselves down because they said the teacher probably teaching them is not good or is not doing the best. Go online and look for other resources that are available that could enhance your ability. But in closing, I'm not letting the challenge that we see in the WASE on the doorstep of poor teaching alone. I'm talking about the foundational level where we are seeing weakness in both literacy and numeracy and how we can address that particular challenge. So it's more of the foundational level. So let's have our government to invest. And I'm happy that the president also mentioned that we need to invest at the basic education level to enhance the capacity over there. Once we are able to get a foundational level strong, I think we'll have the ripple effect at the junior high and secondary and even at the tertiary level.
Thank you very much, Divine. Quick question for you, Divine. Just to, you know how we were in school when you call it mental. You go to class early in the morning, quick maths. What's the square root of 144?
12.
What's 9 times 9?
87.
Nah, this is exactly the problem. When I give you the pressure, that could be a problem. Yeah? 9 times 9 is 81. Obviously, this has nothing to do with your prowess in maths. I think it's, again, based on the way it was taught in class. That sort of pressure is what made Adwoa not really love it. And once the pressure comes, even if you know, you're afraid, and then you may say the wrong answer. So as we've said, that may not be the right way to teach maths for people to love it. I'm glad I put in that good example. And I think maybe I should get ready to be teaching some maths. We'll see. Adwoa, I can take you out for some classes. No worries.
Please, I want to take math classes from you.
That was so disrespectful. But I totally get you. You can't take a 6 to teach you maths. It's all good. Thank you very much, both of you, for your contributions. Divine Kpe, Education Research and Policy Analyst, and Adwoa Tenkorama Domena, DW Correspondent in Accra, Ghana.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Get the stories that are shaping the continent here on Africa Link.
Experts in Ghana suggest a mix of solutions to boost maths performance. They include catch-up classes to fix foundational gaps, better teacher support through training and mentoring, and aligning exams with a new curriculum to focus on problem solving, not memorization. Communities in the private sector can also help through tutoring, digital tools, and programs that show how maths applies in real life. What do you think? Please share your thoughts with us on Facebook at DW Africa. Listen on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to our DW Africa YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. This show was co-produced and edited by Isaac Mugabe, and I am Eddy Micah Jr. Thanks for listening, and keep the passion for maths alive.
DW, made for minds.